Ex Fabri Hydrographum Spagyricum. Ex Palladium Spagyricum is a Latin manuscript attributed to Isaac Newton, consisting of holograph notes or extracts from two alchemical works associated with Honoré Fabri, Hydrographum Spagyricum and Palladium Spagyricum. The manuscript is dated 1660 and belongs to the Smithsonian Library's collection, with provenance through Byrne-Dibner and identification as Burndy Manuscript No. 13. Its subject is alchemy, particularly the fons chemicorum, or fountain of the chemists, and aqua vitae, both treated within the technical vocabulary of early modern spagyric and chemical literature. Newton's notes cite page numbers from the editions he was using, indicating that the manuscript functions not as an original treatise, but as a structured set of excerpts, references, and working observations drawn from Fabri's texts. The document is originally written in Latin, and is significant as evidence of Newton's close engagement with 17th-century alchemical sources, especially those concerned with mercury, mineral waters, metallic generation, distillation, fixation, and the preparation of philosophical substances. From Fabri's Spagyric hydrography. Our chemical fountain becomes mineral when the seeds of earth and water prevail over the seeds of the other elements. Hence, our fountain is very heavy, fat, and viscous from the fatness of water and earth, which predominates over the seeds of the other elements, from which fatness is alone of earth and water there is made the weight which we experience in our fountain. Hydrography, p. 187. There are 7 degrees of the cooking of our mercury, or of the chemical fountain, in perfecting metals. The first degree of cooking is when common and vulgar quicksilver emerges from that cooking. The second degree is when Saturn emerges, the third when tin, the fourth when Venus or copper, the fifth when iron, the sixth when Luna, the seventh and last when Sol or gold is composed from it. Those who cook our fountain, very well closed by continuous cooking and fire, will see our matter first become black for a long time, although for almost months it imitates the crude humor of Saturn, then, with continued cooking, become white with a certain darkish whiteness which seems to imitate the nature and condition of tin, then become green and red and be adorned with various colors which follow the essence and qualities of Venus and Mars, finally become truly and most brilliantly white, which indicates the qualities and essence of Luna and silver. HP 190. Moreover, our matter is changed in 5 months into iron, in 7 into silver, and in 9 into gold. HP 192. The fountain of the chemists and the quicksilver of the common people differ greatly from one another. 1. Our fountain produces and vivifies all things. 2. It is fire and is hot. 3. By the lightest distillation it is converted into spirit and fixed body. 4. The spirit extracted from the fountain of the chemist is fiery and sharp, penetrating, and so subtle that it dissolves metals and once dissolved hands them over to our. 5. Our fountain dissolves itself, coagulates itself, and perfects itself, with nothing else added to it. 6. It has in its belly, and in the innermost parts of itself, a fixed red salt and a white one. Indeed, it itself is holy salt, and from the sulfur or substance of Saturn and Sol. 7. It has Sol and Luna in proximate potency, and by simple cooking alone, they are reduced into final act. 8. From the fountain of the chemists, with nothing else added to it, by simple cooking, there is made the elixir and the true tincture of the philosophers, which perfects all metals and the remaining natural comets things. HP 198. The author praises all the treatises which are brought together in the Hermetic Museum printed at Frankfurt, saying that all these treatises, golden and learned, taught him away from errors and taught him the true physical matter. Ibid, p. 199. The fountain of the chemists must be elicited from 2 substances having the nature of salt, yet sprung from one and the same root, so that the true and legitimate fountain of the chemists may be had, these 2 matters joined, together at equal weight, and reduced into a chaos, and very well mixed, and placed in a glass retort, give, by a very light fire increased by degrees, a fiery spirit which is distilled into a clear water, which is marked by the philosophers with various names, and is especially called virgin's milk, sharpest vinegar, queen water, white woman, heaven, tail, water of life, vulture, sister, mercury, fountain, sweat, black cloud, and by many other names, although nevertheless it is one thing, a pure distilled water from these 2 substances of one mineral root. And metallic lineage. These substances, while they pour forth that spirit into the bottom of the retort, remain fixed and permanent, as though dead, since they have sent forth their spirit and life, by distillation. But they are to be vivified and raised from the dead by being sprinkled again, with their spirit over the same matters, which, by the abundance of their own spirit, is dissolved by a very light fire into a bloody substance and liquor, which by continued cooking and by its graduated digestion grows day by day, and that bloody color of it is increased, and gradually from bloody it becomes wholly black, which by continued digestion thickens and grows fat, this same matter left at the bottom when it is joined again to its. Spirit is also distinguished by many names, for it is called bronze or sulfur, the filing of the body very well calcined, the earthy and gross part, the part to be serrated, dew. Body, ash, the married bramble, dragon, blacker than black, brother coal, sun, and by many other names. But art separates the spirit from this body, so that each cleansed and made purer may again be joined together and never, afterward be separated, and may remain joined together and joined together. Be perfected, for while by continued digestion they thicken and grow fat, at last both are sealed so that they are never again separated, and remain fixed and liquid. And this is the final sign by which our matter is denoted. The first sign is that the matter is double, yet of the same kind and root. The second, that the matter is mineral and of a metallic root. The third, that the matter is very easy of fusion and has volatile and fixed parts. The fourth, that the volatile and fixed parts separated and joined together, putrefy together, and are perfected in putrefaction. The fifth, that while they are cooked and putrefy, they are tinged with innumerable colors, and first, black, then white, finally red. The sixth, that this matter, when it is white, tinges metals into silver, and when it is red, into gold. And these are the principal signs of our matter, to which it may be added that its spirit and volatile part is of a very sharp taste, penetrating, and of an exceedingly subtle substance. Also of a pontic quality, HP 200, 201. Almost all the philosophers assert that the fountain of the chemists, or our Mercury, cannot be perfected without gold and silver, but that gold and silver is not common gold and silver, but is born in the very inward parts of the fountain. It is the fixed part of the fountain, white and red, namely the white salt and the red salt. These two are one and the same thing, because under a different respect they are called gold and silver. For that salt, when it has the 6th degree of perfection and the highest whiteness, has been brought to this of light and is called silver. But when that same salt has reached the 7th and last degree and has the degree of perfection and has reached the final limit of its cooking, then it is called gold. And without this gold and silver our fountain cannot be perfected. These metals must be joined to our fountain. With these it's volatile. Moisture is also digested, and the digestion of the pure things is completed, and finally with the gold of the common people is joined and mixed with it. There are 40 years during which I labored constantly, day and night, always, yet nevertheless I was not made possessor of so great a secret until after the 50th year of my age. The art cannot be handed down by words and writings without many errors, both in preparing the matter, then in applying the fire, then in constructing the furnace, then in the vessel in which the matter is to be thoroughly cooked, then in the weight to be applied. H. pages 201, 202, 203. Since the matter is twofold, although it is of the same substance and nature, the weight in it will have to be investigated. In our fountain, however, two natural matters are established. One is held for the male, the other for the female. These two are joined, and from the conjunction of this male and the virgin girl, there is born the seed, or our fountain. There, at that time, in celebrating the marriage, the weight is to be considered, for from a weight of qualities, there does not arise the seed, or prolific fountain, but from a certain and determined weight. Therefore, the weight of each matter must be applied in celebrating our first marriage, but in the second, marriage when the volatile part is joined to the fixed and permanent part. The weight also must be considered, for the fixed part must necessarily be dissolved and diluted and be made water by the volatile part. Therefore, the volatile part ought to be greater in quantity than the fixed part itself. Some of the chemists place 10 parts of water upon one part of the fixed body, others 7, others 4, provided that the fixed part is dissolved by the volatile part. I judge this truly to suffice. For afterward, by continual and uninterrupted cooking, the volatile part is coagulated by the fixed part. If the quantity of the volatile part is very great, coagulation is delayed. Wherefore those who do not know the cause are driven to despair. I, however, did not observe the weight, but joined the matters and dissolved the fixed part with a very great quantity of the volatile part, and then in a bath of Mary, or with a very slight heat of ashes, I drew off the superfluous part of the volatile matter until I saw a tenacious, viscous, and very black matter. Then I sealed the vessel with a sufficiently firm stopper and handed it over to time for cooking, with God blessing it, and it gave increase. The weight must also be observed in multiplication, for the white and red work must be purpled and watered with its spirit, or with our crude fountain, but pure and 7 times distilled. There the weight must be observed lest the elixir be submerged. It must be watered very sparingly, so that the matter is covered only to the thickness of a blade. This must be done many times until the stone has drunk enough and is of the most perfect whiteness and complete redness, and of the easiest fusion, which comes to it from the abundance of its own moisture, perfectly cooked and made fixed. The weight of nature is that the body drinks as much as it can retain, and rejects the remainder of the spirits to other uses. H. pages 203, 204. From Palladium Spagyricum. The mercury of the philosophers alters and transmutes all things into its own substance, which, if it is finally perfected, perfects all things, but if it is crude and uncooked, by its ingress all things become crude again and are changed into its substance. Fabri, Palladium Spagyricum, p. 831. The author worked for 10 years upon erroneous matters. Then for 3 years concerning the true ancient matter he wrote Palladium 1634. 793. Of this mineral matter, 100 pounds are to be calcined to whiteness with a slow fire, not to citrine or red, by a fire too strong, so that the superfluous moisture may exhale. He places it in a retort fortified with lute, and distills with a very strong flame fire. The dead head, of black color or dark purple if the matter has suffered a vehement and consuming fire, or red if it has suffered a moderate one, he exposes to the cold air day and night for some days. Then, with common rainwater, he extracts the salt, filters it, and dries it into a very white powder, and again distills as before with a very strong fire. But the spirits produce more abundantly in the second distillation than in the first, and in the third than in the second, and in the fourth than in the third, and so thereafter, until almost the whole matter fails and is converted into spirit, because, the spirit having been drawn off so many times in the prior days, it is more and more dried out and becomes dry. But from about 100 pounds of our mineral, scarcely 1 pound of pure spirit is drawn out, which is called the soul, or the sulfur of our philosophers, and another pound of fixed substance. The spirit comes forth through many distillations. Joe P. 858. But you will have the greatest abundance of the volatile mineral part, free from every contamination, which you will obtain by sevenfold distillation, and which you will perceive by taste, sight, and touch. By taste, at first sweet sharp, not otherwise than if it were a liquor of somewhat sweet pomegranates, yet it is much sharper. Besides that sweetness and sharpness, there is in that liquor a certain very great fiery violence, so that it appears to be vinegar of sulphur made. Through a bell and rectified, and the quintessence of wine circulated for much time and impregnated with the spirit of sulphur. As to sight, it is a very clear liquor, of tenacious and glutinous substance, very similar to the thickest syrup or to oil. But by touch we perceive its very great weight, since it is likened to metal dissolved and reduced into water. The other part, which is fixed, when it is sufficiently purified, is of very great weight, like a most perfect metal. It is dissolved in its own water little by little with the gentlest heat, without any hissing, just as ice in warm water or butter in warm oil. And in this dissolution it deposits no feces, but is converted into a certain gluten or gum of very clear color. These two parts, the fixed and the volatile, are joined in just weight, namely 3 parts of water, or more up to 12, with 1 part of earth, and are cooked to completion. Joe P. 938-939. The operative point of the page is clear. The author is describing a mineral subject separated into a volatile spirit and a fixed earth or fixed substance. The volatile part is heavy, clear, viscous, sharp, fiery, and compared to metal reduced into water. The fixed part dissolves in its own water without feces and becomes a clear gum or gluten. The work then proceeds by recombining the volatile water and fixed earth in ratio, 3 to 12 parts water to 1 part earth, followed by cooking to completion.